Peace, fam. Happy Monday to you guys. It's the Pressure Cooker, and I'm back with another video. So I actually just did a live, and I was going to talk about Midnight Mass, and since some of the people in the chat didn't see it, I didn't want to ruin it for them. So I decided to do a separate video. First of all, shout out to all the people who joined me in the live. Thank you for being there, and thank you for those who will watch the replay. So Midnight Mass, guys, whoo! I was not ready. I didn't know what this show was going to be about, but I'm glad that I watched it. So there's so many themes in here: cults, how people get caught up in things, how people bend truth to fit their lies, really. And also, I kind of said this in my live, but be forewarned, if you're triggered by fundamentalism, if you're triggered by religious abuse, this might not be the show for you. Or it could be for you, but just be aware that there's some of those elements. So it's a limited series. I love limited series because it's just a shorter time commitment. The episodes tend to be longer, but it's just so good. It's like I think of it as like a long movie, super long movie. So the show starts out with this guy named Riley, and he is from a small coastal town, but where the events happen in the beginning, he wasn't in the town then. He was somewhere else. And he was drunk driving, and he killed a girl. Now, guys, spoiler alert. There's going to be lots of spoiler alerts, okay? And so he ended up doing jail time. It wasn't clear how long he went away for. I did not see that. I don't know if you guys caught that, but it wasn't clear how long he was in jail for. And then when he served his time, he came back to his town, and he ended up living with his mom, his dad, and his little brother. Now, clearly this is hard for him because he just left jail, and he's still dealing with having killed this girl by accident because he was drunk. And every night when he goes to bed, before he goes to bed, he sees the body of this dead girl laying in the street with the shards of grass like glistening out of her body. Very, very traumatic, very upsetting. And so, he's just going through his own hell, right? So at the same time, when he comes back, a lot of weird things are happening in his small town. This town has like 127 people. And I think it's called Crockett. So anyway, there's one priest and there's one church there. And the name of the priest was Monsignor. Shoot, I forgot his name. But anyway, we're going to call him Monsignor. Okay, but he was old. He was like probably upper 70s, maybe older than that. And he had, I think, dementia. And anyway, he went to an event and then they didn't see him again. So who they saw was he was replaced by a younger priest. And the priest initially said to them, oh, look, Monsignor got ill and he's recovering on the mainland. That's what they refer to, when they leave the town because it's a coastal town. He's recovering on the mainland, so I'm going to be taking care of him until then. Now, one of the most obnoxious characters in this show is this woman named Bev Keen. This actress played the hell out of this role because she successfully annoyed and triggered the fuck out of me. Every time her damn face hit the screen, she was so annoying. She was so judgmental. She was condescending. She was just a religious zealot. Like, it was just crazy. So anyway, she's like sniffing around trying to find out if Monsignor's back. And that's kind of how she realized, okay, well, this new priest is here instead. And she's kind of up his butt and around the corner. And she's like, oh, why are you wearing the wrong color robe? All this stuff. Nothing could ever be right for her. So anyway, as time goes on, some miracles started to happen. There's a young girl who was stuck in a wheelchair because of an accident that happened to her from one of the drunkards on the island. His name is Joe Colley, accidentally shot her. And she was paralyzed. And so she's always been in a wheelchair. A beautiful girl. And then in one of the mass services, she ended up, what's his name? Father Paul, that is the young priest now, is pretty much like refusing to give her the sacrament. He wanted her to get out the chair, and people were getting angry, like, what are you doing? She can't walk. Like, this is outrageous. And then she ended up getting out the chair and walking. And during all this time, he ends up doing AA classes with Riley, the guy I told you about in the beginning. He's like the main character, and Joe Colley. All kinds of stuff happens. Then it starts to get crazy, y'all. Father Paul reveals that he is actually the Monsignor. Okay, so let me tell you how he got a reduction in his age, because he's probably like in his 40s. Okay, now he remember I told you that Monsignor had dementia. He wandered off, and then he ended up in a dust storm. I'm guessing he must have been somewhere in the Middle East. Ended up in a dust storm, honey. Ended up in a cave, and here is this vampiric like being that kills him. Okay, kills him, drains his blood, and then he wakes up a younger version of himself. So it turned him. It didn't just like drink his blood. It turned him. Now, we didn't get to see much about the creature then. It was still terrifying. It's very scary. And then all we know is the younger version of him leaves the cave. And I think he took the vampire with him, y'all. He took the vampire back to the town with him. All of a sudden, we see this thing flying around at night. Okay. And it killed a couple town people. And subsequently, miracles would happen, right? Like, you know, people would go missing and then other miracles would happen. Just crazy stuff. So then they started to get real crazy, and everything became about mass. And then somehow Monsignor died. Now, if you guys watch this, tell me your theory. I think Bev killed him. Bev was poison happy. She poisoned Joe Colley's dog, and I think he died in the same way that Joe Colley's dog died, which was throwing up and stuff. I don't know what Bev Keen would gain from poisoning him, but I think she was poisoning him, and he died, and then he came back to life. And then since he was turned by that vampire, he was now in full vampire mode, so he can no longer be around in the day, and they had to keep it a secret. He ended up accidentally killing Joe Colley, guys, and drank his blood. Like, it was just crazy. It was crazy. And then we found out that he was drinking. Come to find out, he was drinking blood. He was drinking the vampire's blood that he took back to the island. So here he comes back to life, and now he starts having midnight mass, hence the title. The people, they just were coming out, going, and Bev Keen they hid Joe Colley's body. She kind of got a couple other goons from the town to do it. Meanwhile, she's out here condescending and doing all kinds of crazy shit, just being evil. Like, this lady is evil. Then they plan this big mass, event. They cut off the power, secretly cut off the power. They hid the boats, because you can only leave via boat because it's a coastal town. And right before this happened, Riley, the guy in the beginning who killed that girl, he peeped game, and he went back to where he usually has these AA meetings with Father Paul. And then that's where the creature was there refilling the blood. So all these people were drinking communion wine, and it was the vampire's blood, y'all. That's the reason why all these miracles were happening. Because if you think about vampire lore, if any of y'all has watched like True Blood, you know, it'll talk about how like the vampire blood has different powers. Like in True Blood, you know, it can make them have a sense of smell. It can improve their sex drive. It can make them faster, all kinds of stuff. In this show, it just was healing their bodies in different ways and causing different things. And it was really crazy because Riley ended up getting killed by the vampire and turned. Riley came back, and he told Erin, who is a woman he'd been talking to and he has loved since childhood, he took her out on a boat and was like, look, this is what they did to me. And by the way, they never mentioned the word vampire the whole time in this series, which I thought was cool. And the only way he could prove to her was he stayed on the boat until the sun came up, guys. And y'all know what time it was. He lit on fire and he died. Now, she witnessed this traumatic death, went back to the land, and the only people that weren't really, only one other person on the island. Well, there were a couple people on the island who weren't drinking the blood. And it was the doctor. She was not. She never went to the services. Her mom, though, would be drinking the blood because the priest would come to their house and serve her communion almost every day, and she kept getting younger and younger and better. Child, listen. By the time Erin came back and told these people what happened, they were already planning this crazy final midnight mass to cut off the power. So I think the plan was to just. People couldn't get away. Do you know The plan was to give them poison. It felt very, very Jonestown-ish. If you have read about Jonestown and what happened, these people were all served Kool-Aid with cyanide, which is a poison. And I think I read that it burns the hell out of you, and that scene would have been horrible because it's a horrible way to die. It's just gonna be painful. You're gonna be throwing up. Horrible way to go. Okay, so this is what he offered to the people, and then here come the vampire child. He said the vampire was an angel of the Lord. Came out in a chasuble. That's the outfit that the priest wears. It was the most horrific thing I ever seen. This damn demon was out here in a damn chasuble. Okay? And it was crazy because he looked so horrifying. And do you know people still decided that they were going to kill themselves so they can come back to life? Because they had enough of the vampire's blood in them that he didn't even have to bite them. Once they died, they just come back. So these people all took this poison, Bev Keen's poison, came back to life. And then, of course, it's a whole bloodbath because they need to feed. It was horrible. And so then the doors were supposed to be locked. Bev Keen opened the doors because she's evil. And then they were killing mad people in the town. Child, listen, it was just a whole crazy mess. Long story short, the vampire was running around the countryside, killing people and drinking blood. And then before you know it, Bev Keen says, oh, let's burn all these houses. We just need to save the church. Because that was their plan, was, to have a sanctuary for them to sleep at night. Well, because Bev Keen is sadistic and evil, she ended up burning all the homes in the town. And then somebody ended up catching up to her and burning the church. So they had nowhere to sleep. So the sun came up on their ass and she died. They all died. Every single person died except for 2 kids. The girl Lisa, who she got saved. Like she's the first miracle who, she was able to walk again. She was on the boat, and Riley's younger brother was on the boat. They were the only ones who survived, guys. And I think the vampire died, and here's why I think he died. On the closing credits, they said that she said, "Oh, I can't feel my legs anymore." And that tells me that the vampire died because Aaron had attacked the vampire and poked holes in his wings before when she was dying. And I think he just never got to fly to safety because remember, everything was burning on the island. It's a coastal island. There's nowhere to go, and the sun kills them. So I don't think he ever made it back. I think the sun hit him and scorched his ass. And then, so now, whatever remnants of him was left in her blood is gone. So I think she's probably paralyzed again, but they survived. It was crazy. So let's unpack these themes. Guys, it was so nuts. So first we have the cult theme. People not asking the right questions and being willing to go along with the crowd just to belong. You notice that questions aren't appropriate if you try to dig too deep. They sick people on you. It was just crazy. It was just a lot of cult themes. What was interesting is Monsignor was so religious and so in his own world that he actually believed that this vampire, which I think is a demonic entity, that killed him and turned him was an angel of the Lord. He thought it was an angel of the Lord, guys. And he was so sold out to that belief that he brought that vampire back to his small town and thought he was saving people. And then he realized at the very end, obviously that wasn't the case. It was just, I'm not even doing it justice, but you need to check it out. I don't want this to be too much longer. Check out Midnight Mass on Netflix. Let me know what you think in the comments. What were things that I missed? What were things that stood out to you? And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.